when I was doing backpacking and I was lost for 8 hours in a mountain and it was raining and it was thunder reason and I thought that I would die. And suddenly I met this old guy smoking a pipe, relaxing under a tree. Like I was like, or even I had it recently in Australia. I had a yoga teacher of Kriya Yoga from Nepal, and all of those things they make my art way stronger, because then like to be able to create, you need to live.
Thank you, Abu, for joining us. And this is another episode of Our Tale. I'm Sally, a BFA3 character animation student.
Aria, also a BFA3 character animator.
I am Almo Redondo. I am a freelance art director and production designer, and I work for different industries, for animation, visual effects, but mainly in animation, remotely for different studios all around the world.
Yay! I think it's so hard to introduce the work you do because you've had so much experience in so many fields. And Arya and I, we were like looking through your website, and our eyes were just like, do that.
So amazing.
That's amazing. And you
I had a colorful life.
in architecture, and then you also took classes online, like in Schoolism and all those sort of things. And then finally, you kind of ended up in animation, and then later in Cartoon Saloon. Could you start by kind of telling us a little bit about how you started working in animation, and maybe those early career experiences of how they specifically helped you to do the work that you do today?
My beginning, it was very rocky. I had to say, like my start was really, really hard. It was so difficult to start in animation because for the longest time I couldn't find a job because I found eventually what became my superpower and the thing that everybody is calling me for, like one of my strengths. It was my biggest weakness at the beginning because I am a heavily generalist person that I love to weave threads in between things and industry and styles and even, ways of thought and departments and people and cultures. But the industry is heavily specialized. So everybody was asking me at the beginning that to get hired in illumination or in different studios, I needed to just slot myself in one thing, either to character design or environment design. And I had a little bit of everything. So it was really hard and no one was calling me back. But I was struggling a little bit and thinking a lot about what to do. But in the end, I couldn't see myself just in one industry, in one style or one department. So I decided to stay true to myself. I decided that it was going to take longer because I saw myself like a video game skill tree, that I needed to raise in everything all the time. But it was the thing that it was really speaking to myself and in the way that I was and following my personality. So, and I have a lot of curiosity for everything. So I decided to follow that and became a strength. And this is what brought me into the direction and production designer chair because I was the one that could connect the dots in between all of the different departments. And they keep calling me to try different styles because I have been super lucky to work in a huge range of them, from live action, photorealism, CG stylized animation, 2D animation, really experimental indie animation. So I love like bringing the best of all of them. And with time, I found out that independently of the medium that you finesse something on, the storytelling devices and storytelling techniques and tools are the same because underneath all of our human differences, basically, emotions are universal. So also in all of my travels, I've been living in a lot of different cultures. I've been living in China, in Singapore. Now I live in Australia. Right now I'm in Paris, different parts of Europe, Ireland, England. I am from Spain. So I found out that the different aspects of all of the societies, they are like the wrap of the candy, but inside of it, we are all candy, we are all humans. So like just delivering emotion and building emotions is the same independently of the industry. You just use different methods and different techniques to make the delivery, but also you have different strengths in each one of the styles, to be able to reinforce certain elements or tell the story with different aspects and different perspectives. So yeah, it was hard, but eventually paid off, and now I get called to to do this big variety of things. So I felt that I was constantly orbiting around something that I couldn't define. When I was an architect, I wanted to create the stage for people to live in, and the industry wasn't in Spain. It wasn't really existing. Like working on a film, it was at the same level as the film itself. It was a fantasy. So I started doing architectural design, and that gave me a lot of logic sense. And to build a building is the same to build a film. You need an experience for the people to get immersed in. You use light and color. You try to create different emotions in a succession of either spaces or sequences. And you need to be both a poet and a technician, because it needs to be very beautiful and very emotional and touch us deeply, bringing us into a emotional experience, but also it has a logic structure underneath of construction and structure, and both the film and the building have those things. So it was great. I could relate all of the things that I learned in architectural design in making a film. But then I really wanted to work on films. So I met in one of our architectural works that we were trying to do a museum in the Cathedral of Pamplona, which is where I am from. We called a filmmaker to create the exhibition the same as a film. So I met him and I said, let's have a coffee. I want to be like you. Please tell me how I can become you. So, and it was the best coffee of my life that changed my life, because he told me everything about all of the different schools and where I could go. So I decided that the job that I was doing, it was going to be the last one. And when I finished my year in China, I moved to filmmaking. I gave myself 1 year with the savings that I could gather, because my family couldn't afford to pay me more. So with the 3 years of working as an architect, I could pay some studies. They were allowing me for 1 year to explore different things. And at the end of that year, I needed to find a job. Otherwise, I would go back to architectural design. This is the agreement that I did with myself. So I tell you, it was the hardest year of my life. I took the biggest risk of my life, because I was working in a really nice studio in China. And cut to 2 months later, I was working as a waitress in England at night to try to pay my rent and my food. I had zero money in my bank account to go to an Starbucks maybe once a month. I needed to count my tips, that I was getting on the bar. And everything that I could, I was putting in different online courses like CG Masters Academy, Schoolism, and different ones. And I planned myself my own study, because I just wanted to learn how to tell stories in general in all of the industries. So I looked at what are the strengths in each one of the industries, and I thought the best designs are in animation. So I studied that with people from Pixar that it was giving me feedback directly. The best environment design for me is in video games, because it's very beautiful, but it's also immersive in 360 and it's close to architectural design. So I studied with people of Naughty Dog. And the best use of light and color and cinematography in composition, I thought it was in live action. So I studied that as well. So, and then I built a portfolio and I got a job in visual effects. I was very lucky. And it's actually a very crazy moment of my life. Like, I was both very lucky, but also I think very straightforward, because the year ended. I of course thought I wasn't ready, but I needed to do it. So I pushed myself to start going to different places. I sent emails, no one was answering. So I decided to go knocking doors. No one was opening the door. And then in the last one, it was a small studio in Bournemouth, in the south of England, that it was a lot of people that they were doing visual effects in London, and they wanted to have a quieter life. So it was people from MPC, Double Negative, Framestore. So really high-end profile of the work and the professionals that they were working in there. So I knocked the door, and I was lucky because that door had a window, so a glass, and they could see me. So I was knocking the door at 8:30 in the morning, and they saw me waiting, like, who is this person?
Right.
So they opened the door, and it's like, I think it was the secretary or something, like, hello, who are you? What do you need? And I was like, well, I am Amalmu Redondo. This is my portfolio. I'm a concept artist. I don't know if you would need my services. And they said, like, oh yeah, of course, please come in. This is the CEO desk. Come and talk to him. And I went there. And I remember that it was not even 9 a.m. because someone from the team brought him his tea. And when I was talking to him, we started talking like, hello, I'm Almu. I'm a concept artist. I don't know if you need me. This is my portfolio. This is my reel. So I had everything ready. And he was browsing, and it was extremely lucky situation because just the previous day he had been doing a pitch in London, and he needed an architect to develop the reconstruction visually of London through the ages. And I needed someone in the film industry, to hire me. So it was a perfect match. And he was like, oh my God, I think this is the craziest thing that have ever happened to me before 9 a.m., like we were all like, perfect team. So I started working with them, but the work was only for 1 week. So the week ended, and they were like, Almu, we really love you. That we don't have any more concept art work. And I was like, okay. I was doing my maths because if I was going back home, I was going to be in ground zero again. So I was like, okay, you don't have concept art, but what do you have? And he told me, well, I have compositing. Do you know how to do compositing? And I did again like quick math, and I thought my friends were studying compositing, and I thought compositing is like concept art in movement. So I already have the aesthetic sense and eye and design sense. I only need to know learn a new software to make it in movement. So I was thinking, yeah, I think I can learn it. And I told him like, I don't know, but I can learn Nuke. And he was like, okay, today is Thursday. If on Monday you know Nuke, I give you a shot. And I was like, you have it. So I got my friends like, please, can I cook you for the whole weekend and you teach me Nuke, please?
But you made it.
Wow.
And they were like, yes, okay, I think you can do it. So we did it. Monday came. Of course, I didn't know Nuke, but I knocked in the door again in the morning. The CEO opened the door and he was like, hello, Almu, do you know Nuke? And I was like, yes, I do. And he was like, okay, this is your seat. They were super kind with me. I knew very little of Nuke. Every night I was still learning Nuke, but they were super kind and awesome. And I was doing compositing for a bit, but then super luckily, like concept art started coming in like two weeks in when I was doing compositing. So I started doing concept art, the storyboard, matte paintings, anything like textures. And again, like, do you know how to do textures? No, but I can learn. So I was constantly learning the software at night. So it was great because like this, I could do all of the different departments and in a lot of different styles. A lot of pitches started coming in. I could start doing storyboards, which I love. Like, oh, the director is coming. We need to do some storyboards to plan the budget of the visual effects sequences. Almo, you know how to draw, right? Do you want to do some storyboards? And I was like, yes. And then I started learning about cameras and cinematography and all of that. So that was the beginning, and everything started from there. And it has always been like this, like if I try to create my chances, my opportunities, and when the opportunity come, I'm ready. So this has been all of the trip until now, and I keep doing it every day.
That is so inspiring.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just for my curiosity. Like, you worked on so many projects, but out of everything you have tried, which one has been the most rewarding for you as an artist, and how?
Yeah, I mean, all of them for different reasons. I learned so much from all of them. I think right now I am in a place where I think I finally found, where I wanted to arrive, because I've always been trying to find something that could really deepen our ways of expressing with emotions. And I think I found that in stylized animation now is one of the places where, apart from joining a lot of different disciplines, if you mix it with 3D, for example, you can also have sculpture in there. But I think now I found a place where I can explore really strongly how you can shape absolutely every element on the frame to express emotions. So I think now I am in my happy place, and I truly feel that we are still scratching the full potential of 2D animation, and we are living in the 21st century in a moment where I think as a society and humans, we communicate and assimilate more abstraction than ever, like in the way that communicate with emojis and icons and all of these things. It's very abstract if you think about it, and in the way that we think is more fluid. So we are not following very rigid structures or disciplines of thoughts anymore. We are more, associative and open in that sense. So I think for experimental animation in 2D animation, that's a great plus. And I feel that is a moment in history with this when we want it, as human beings, to express in this way and watch shows in this way and feel in this way. So the things that I'm doing right now and the teams that I'm collaborating with, they are some of the most rewarding and satisfying right now, because I feel that my personal nature, my interests align with the kind of projects and perspectives that they are coming, like the people that is calling me. But I learned so much in so many of the other projects, like at the beginning, even when I was working in big IPs like Riot Games, so I've been working with Disney a lot, to be able to deal with complexity and manage complexity at that level, like big teams. And also there are a lot of different factors to consider when you are doing every single design, because you need to align not only with your personal vision and your personal taste, but the one of the director, the one of the company, because you are representing a company and you need to be very aware of the kind of personality that they are projecting in the world, and it needs to be aligned with that. The audience as well that you are delivering to, and of course production, like if you don't have money to deliver what you're trying to create, it serves for nothing. So you cannot leave all production managers behind you, in your career. So you need to take those things into account. So I learned so much, and it's great, because now when you are able to deal in that big structure, now you can de-escalate, and doing something smaller is way simpler as well. So it's been great, because I could gather a lot of experience in and learning from all of them, from all of those. So yeah, it's been a little bit, even from architectural design, I was learning so much. Sometimes I learned from specific people that I was working with when we were building some things. Sometimes it was the guy that he was putting the glasses on, and even just his perspective on life. It was really rewarding just to go and do the visit and talk to him, and I was learning so much already. So yeah, a lot of them.
You've also worked on so many, like the art direction or conceptual pitch ideas of different projects. I was wondering if you could maybe delve into how you approach maybe starting something like a conceptual pitch or a pitch deck for an art direction, like for Screecher's Reach, which the art style is just like, it's so beautiful, but it's also the story that kind of stays with me at the end. Obviously, you probably start with the story, and then you probably start with the feeling and emotions you want to convey. But like moving forward, how do you, start doing something like a conceptual pitch deck?
Yeah, I always try to connect deeply with the emotions, of course. Because for me, we speak about the structure and story a lot, and of course, it's really fundamental. Like, story is king, but I always say that emotion is queen. I think they are equally important, and is the reign of both of them. So they should be taken into account. The perfect balance between the two is what makes a masterpiece. And even you can have masterpieces that just lean a little bit to one or the other, but both things are very present and solid. So emotion is the key. It's always my touchstone and my foundation and my anchor. And for example, in the case of Screecher's Reach, I couldn't have done the visuals without finding a specific poem that really synthesized the mood and that we wanted to create. And at the beginning, when we were talking, I was from the very beginning talking with all of the writers and with the director, because everybody is building this thing together, like both the visuals and the story, and we were influencing each other. And this is my favorite way of working. Like, even when I work with Disney, I always try to keep this communication active if it's possible between the writers and myself. But when I'm doing the production design or even creating a pitch to sell to some executives, because I think the story is a big tree, and it's just the trunk is the story, but all of the different departments are branches from the same tree, and all of us should be connected. And in Screecher's Reach, for example, we were a really small team, and at the beginning, in the same room, we were the writers, the director, the storyboarders, and the concept artist. We were only 5 or 6 people every time, but still it was fundamental for us to build everything together. So that was great. And there was a recurring poem that kept coming so many times in the writers' room, that it was one from Yeats, that is the stolen child. Come with me, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, as the world is more full of weeping than you will ever understand. Which, if you think about it, is the story of Screecher's Reach. She goes hand in hand with a fairy to another magical world that we know. Maybe it's not so magical, maybe it's a little bit nightmarish, but she doesn't know, but we know as an audience.
Yeah.
So I thought this is it, this mix of melancholy, tragedy, but also incredible beauty. It was exemplifying both the tone of the story, the tone of Ireland that we wanted to represent, like the soul of Ireland, but also that of Star Wars. Like, the tone of Star Wars is very much like this. It's very haunting, but very hopeful, with a touch of hope at the end. So that was it. When that came into my life, and it was really clear that this was what we're trying to do, to try to do this kind of dark fairy tale inside of, or legend inside of Star Wars. Every decision of design, every image that I was making, I was thinking, is this purposely bringing us closer to this? So in the context of everything, sometimes the images were a little bit more bright, but always they needed to be balanced with some darker moments. And some images had a mix of both things depending on the moment of the character. So that's always the starting point. By then, I try to do the exercise of try to find 3 images. Like usually in the pitches, you work like this: 3 images that define your film. Tom always talks about the myth. You try to find the myth of the film and try to find those images that represent those core ideas, those soul ideas. And without any word, just seeing those 3 images, you need to be captivated by both the world, the design, everything, the storytelling. You need to have very clear the evolution of the character. So I do that exercise, and it works. It's very nice. It's a very interesting process.
Screechers Reach is just such an amazing short film when I watch it, because it's so distinct. It's its own thing, but it has so much like different complex emotions. And at the end, I was like, oh, because it wasn't really what I expected, I guess, coming out from the short film or just Star Wars and Cartoon Saloon in general. But that was just really amazing, and also the process that you talked about was very inspiring to hear as well. And I just wanted to ask you a short question about working with like Star Wars and Cartoon Saloon. Now, they both have kind of their distinct feel and visual style and everything. How do you kind of assimilate that and create something that's very distinct and visually beautiful for a specific story that kind of has both elements in it?
Yeah, it was a great process, and we were incredibly lucky. Like it was a jewel of an opportunity because we were given a lot of freedom. You know, we could do anything inside of the Star Wars universe, both in story and style. And the executives, they were very supporting. There were a couple of moments where I was trying to deviate a little bit from the canon, like established color codes from Star Wars in general. But it was a huge and very, very important story point for the main character. Everything is about the tragedy of this character, where her doom and salvation both are in the same direction and by the same hand. So that was a beautiful thing, a beautiful ambiguity to design for. So it was great because we could keep doing the thing that we wanted, and actually this is why they called us. For example, to be able to propose, we were thinking visually, what could be the most striking thing that you could explore in animation in Star Wars? And we immediately thought represent the Force visually. So creating this moment inside of the cave when you see the dark side of the Force visually, it was huge, and it was the moment where we were allowed to create the biggest style proposal and something completely new that has never been seen or done before. And it was one of the big exploratory moments. And then I was diving into the Star Wars universe. I know the universe a little bit because my partner works in the live action features, so I was aware of it for some years. And of course, you know, like McQuarrie is one of the masters of design, so you are aware of it anyway. Like even in architectural design, we were studying him because he's a fantastic designer and builder of atmospheres. But I needed to really dive in to understand the logic of design in Star Wars. And amazingly enough, I found out that they had a lot of common things with the things that we were doing in Cartoon Saloon anyway, because the decisions are very bold and simple in the construction of the spaces and the visual identity that they are giving all of the spaces and societies. So it was a perfect match, to be honest. I started to design there were some moments that they were more Star Wars. The beginning is very, very Star Wars because I wanted to open up saying, even though the story itself at the beginning is not very Star Wars, the world is, the huge factory at the beginning is. And then I was deviating a little bit, and then you forget that you are in Star Wars, and then inside of the cave, bang. So like suddenly you come back at it like, okay, yes, we were in Star Wars. And then the end is a nice blend of all things. So I was trying to integrate that logic of design, but it was, as I say, like it was very organic. It was beautiful, and Star Wars is such a deep universe, but also in terms of storytelling, it allows for a lot of opportunities. Because, for example, in the cave, we had an amazing chance because for me, abstraction and symbolism is a huge part of how I like to tell stories. And the cave of Star Wars is this point where the two realms of archetypes and reality merge a little bit, and you allow some licenses. So it was the perfect stage for exploring these things, because I truly believe that to work with these layers is allowing us to reach deeper levels of our human experience that maybe in a style or visuals that are closer to reality is more difficult to do, because you are already accessing abstraction in animation, so it's easier to give a leap forward and keep deepening into that abstraction. So it allows you to go places in fiction and in animation that maybe in live action you can't. So that was beautiful, like it was the perfect spot to explore all of this. So it was great, and the whole process, it was very simple. The executives were really encouraging. We had minimal notes, just notes of encouragement, most of all. And James, Jackie, and Josh, the executives in Lucasfilm, they were amazing. We had reviews with them like every 1 month, every 2 months, something like that. Sometimes if we couldn't do it live, I was doing a little video when I was presenting the newest designs. Paul will do, the director, he will do his, showing the progress of everything. But yeah, it was an amazing, and we built a really beautiful relationship when we went to the Skywalker Ranch at the end, to the color grading and the sound design. So yeah, it's great.
This short film is just such a gift to like people who are animation fan, cartoon school fan, and Star Wars fan. It's just like, yes. So thank you so much for making this. Like, thank you so much for making this amazing film.
What's the key differences and considerations when you're working on like projects of different mediums, styles, or even 3D or live action projects?
Each one of them has like some limitations and some strengths. So you just need to be very aware of the water that you are swimming, and so not try to do something that it doesn't belong to this world, or even every project has different priorities and goals. So it's very important to be aware of that. So I find that in animation you can dive in emotion like nowhere else. You can just go straight in, and you don't need to be so attached of how life works, or how even an anthropomorphical figure, you can transcend a little bit that, and like we were doing in the Ghost, in the Banshee, in the cave, for example, when she was, you always need to have an anthropomorphical figure to be able to relate, because a person is going to be the conduct for us to experience certain things. So we need that guidance in that reflection. But still, at some points, we were transcending when the emotion was getting into a climax or a peak. We were transcending a little bit, and her shapes were becoming pure rage or pure anger, or even despair sometimes. So we were allowing ourselves to do. And this is something that you can only do in animation, in 2D animation, which is great. But in the other sense, for example, like when I was working in live action or even in CG animation, to learn about how to use the camera and how to use the movement of the camera, for example, in the 3D space, is a huge storytelling tool that can move so many things. You saw the example in Flow. For me, Flow is about camera, everything. Like it's a master class on camera. It's one of the main focus on the director, and you can feel it. And it's great. Like there are some other things that maybe you forgive because you are so enthralled and so inside of the world because of the camera movement. So in that sense, when you work with 3D or live action, you have that. My goal, if I can make it at some point, is to match both of them. And we are already doing it in the industry, which is great. Now finally computers are advancing and technology is advancing so much that we can bend the 3D to our will a little bit more, which was more difficult before, to art direct something in 3D that you want it to be very stylized. But now it's possible. So I think now we're in an amazing moment where we can do a lot of incredible things, mixing the best of both. I'm really excited about that.
We also wanted to ask, when you look outside of animation, because I think artists, we get inspired by so many different things. What do you look at, or which artists do you look at to feel inspired to do the work that you do?
Actually, I think outside of animation is where I find my biggest influences, even if it sounds like counterintuitive sometimes, because the people that has impacted me the most, they were always outside of the industry. I feel that sometimes more than filmmaking techniques and the proficiency of our skill, the most important thing is the perspective that you bring, your angle, your take on something, your taste. And you don't find those things in the spheres of theorization or sitting at your desk. You find it in the street with real people. And all of those people that have deepened my perspective in life the most, like a little villager that I met in the mountains of China when I was doing backpacking and I was lost for 8 hours in a mountain and it was raining and it was thunder reason and I thought that I would die. And suddenly I met this old guy smoking a pipe, relaxing under a tree. Like I was like, it was one of the best conversations in my life in broken Chinese. So I learned so much from that. Or even I had it recently in Australia. I had a yoga teacher of Kriya Yoga from Nepal, and all of those things they make my art way stronger, because then to be able to create, you need to live, you need to experience life. So this is why I'm constantly traveling as well. And when I finished my degree, I made the decision of living in as many cultures as possible, because when you visit them, you are still in your mind. But when you are living in the different cultures and you do the purpose of living with them, breathing like them, and understanding their perspective on life and their own logic, you expand so much your understanding of what it is to be living and what it is to be human. So when I was living in all of these places, that was the most important thing for my art. And of course, apart from the art influences of the different cultures, that is fascinating, to be able to live in the desert with Aboriginal Australians and learn from them. It's one of the most ancestral cultures that we can find in the earth, like the longest standing non-stopped cultures. It was invaluable, So I always recommend this, and now that I'm teaching at Copeland, and for all of you that are still studying, that apart from the technique, of course, it's important. You need to do very polished and beautiful images, that you deepen your perspective in life. Like study anything that sparkles your curiosity or your imagination, and like whatever it is. If it's quantum physics, it's psychology, if it's something completely unrelated to their world, because that is going to make your art stronger, and do a lot of intentional connection with yourself. Like know really well who you are, so you can align all of the structures and decisions that you make in your life with your own nature. Then you can blossom fully, and it's the best both for you, but also for your environment, for the people that you are going to be related to. You're going to give your full potential to everybody and the teams that you are in. But also, of course, in your art, you're just going to create from deep down from your heart. So the farther you reach inside of you, the farther you will reach outside as well, because people will be really moved, because you will do something really authentic and really deep.
Something I really find to be very beautiful about being an artist is just how much is connected with life. It's not like, oh, work brings you out of life. Sometimes it does, but art is just so entwined. And you talking about cultures and traveling. We're both from China, so it's really cool. Been there and met someone in the mountains. That's incredible. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we were from China, and then you're from lived there for a while. That's just
it's such an incredible country.
Yeah, I feel like you really have to live in a good life to create good works.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so our last question will be, what's your observation of the current state of the animation industry, and how's the European industry doing right now?
Yeah, because we hear a lot from people who work in California or America, and then we were wondering from your perspective if you have extra things to share about.
Yeah, so there are hard times everywhere, I can tell you, because I am both working for Disney Studios right now in a big IP that we are creating, but also in a really indie production with a studio in France and Spain in a co-production. And now here in France, I'm with my friends having conversations. It's really tough everywhere, to be honest. But I think in this moment in time, what is going to make you shine in this very saturated market that is full of challenges and a lot of copies are coming as well, is going to be your ability to think outside of the box, to create something new that no one has been done, that no one has seen before, that connects and touches audiences. And in this time more than ever, it's time to be original and daring, to be able to be seen, to have a chance, and to be deeply human. I think it's the most important thing, because I so many times have seen and talking with a lot of people that have been in the industry, but also in general, like if you look at the history of humanity in general, the world and trends and the industry, and us as humans, so many times in our own life experiences, we work by contrast or contrastly. It feels like it's a contrast pendulum between opposites that eventually they reach a balance in the middle and then they go into the balance of the opposites again. Like you could see like Love, Death and Robots, for me, I think it was such a huge success because that kind of animation and tone, it hasn't been done before in the West for a long time. So people were thirsty for a change and something completely different. And 2D animation is so big right now because we've been in a process of a long years of CG going photorealistic and a lot of computer things. And now we want something different. So 2D is this breath of new art that is coming in. So I feel now potentially in the next wave that we are going to be living is going to be one of similar copies and all of these things, but then the pendulum will go back again to have the need of originality, something completely different, something completely broken. So it's the time, to connect deeply with that. So then we can, when the wave comes in back, we are on it, and we are feeling deeply and creating deeply. So yes. That would be my advice. And with Paul Young, he's been in the industry also for 30 years, and he was always telling me, like, when Annecy was very quiet, like the French festival for, I think, a couple of years ago, he was like, I've seen so many of these moments in our trajectory, like suddenly one year everybody's selling, everybody's buying, suddenly everything is quiet. You just need to keep going, like keep appearing and keep doing truthful and very deep art now more than ever.
Yeah, that's very insightful from you. And we've also heard from people saying how it kind of goes in waves, and the way you're talking about how originality, like going back and forth. I think I really relate to that or understand where that's coming from as well. We typically end with a little section called questions for the students. So if you had any questions or curiosities you have about people who are currently studying, like students right now, feel free to ask us if you have any questions.
Yes, I do, of course. I am really interested on what we'll be talking about, your perspective of things right now, but what are the things that move you the most right now in life and in art and everything?
Cooking. She would make nice things in her apartment, and then she would bring it to me because she cooks. And then I live in the apartment dorm, so I don't cook. So I've been enjoying that from her.
Yeah, and my new hobby is like buy different beautiful like dinnerware. Like it really gives me a feeling that I'm living a really good life.
I think as international students, it's also been fun to just explore California or explore Los Angeles a bit because it's such a different place from, the country we were from. So that was inspiring in itself because I feel like I have a very narrow scope of life. It's just, China, home, and then CalArts and the labs. So going out to Los Angeles and seeing all these different people was really cool because I see so many films that are made in America, and then now that I'm here, I kind of understand where some of the influences come from almost. So that has been inspiring. Yeah.
That's so great, so cool. The travelers, yes. That's really cool. Yeah, I have a question as well that I might just ask you here to you too as well. I have a quest in life where I want to find out, I want to create some of the most beautiful things that we can see. So for that, I'm having a huge quest of gathering information from anyone. Like it's sometimes I just the people that I'm buying coffee from or a croissant here in the mornings. I ask this question: what is the most beautiful thing in life or of living for you? And which ones are some of the most beautiful moments, like beautiful not in an aesthetic sense, but in a soul sense, that you were really, really moved in your life that you can remember?
I will say it's a bit abstract, but after having a good dream and good sleep and waking up in a good sunshine.
That was great. The bare necessities. That's good. After a good sleep. That's beautiful.
Watching the sunset on a mountain. That's what I just
Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah. The most beautiful thing, I guess I'm worried about so many things in life, but then at the end, the most beautiful thing is connecting to people. And then you're doing that every day. So I feel like, I've already done good things in life because I've connected and made friends with people. So that's what I find to be really beautiful. And what I really enjoy, I think, on campus these days is just playing sports.
Shelly
yeah.
plays like badminton and tennis every day.
Not every day, but yeah.
Most of the time, okay?
Mhm.
I would love to see some short films from you or paintings, when you are expressing this. That would be so beautiful.
Yeah.